Boom! What up, America? This is Dr. Kurt, and that was super obnoxious, but that was one of my shout-outs to favorite sportcaster, Doug Gottlieb. Coming to you from Colorado Springs, this is a case study, something we've been working with anxiety, focus, moodiness, ADHD, constipation, bloating, fatigue. So, a host of conditions, and it's pretty much all too familiar for many of us. I see quite a few of this together, clumped together. And I would say there's some commonalities that if you're experiencing these kind of conditions that you may glean some hope and some, I don't know, maybe a different path to look at in dealing with these. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, this case study is brought to you by the letters F, the letters D, and the letters A, the FDA. This case study represented is provided for your information and education only and may not be construed as medical advice or instruction. No action or inaction should be taken based solely on the contents of this information. Instead, viewers should consult appropriate health professionals on any matter relating to their health and well-being. So who are we talking about? Well, we have a 33-year-old female. She's a mom, a wife, also full-time employing, so a full plate. But there's a piece I need to highlight in why this person has gotten better and is still getting great results is that she has a very clear and defined goal prior to starting care. And when we're formulating goals with people, and you can do this at home, there's two ways to formulate a goal, or actually a better word is called a purpose. Most will formulate that purpose as losing something they have but don't want. So most people formulate weight loss with I have this weight I don't want, so I want to get rid of it. So her goal could have been, I want to get rid of anxiety, focus, moodiness, ADHD, constipation, bloating, and fatigue. We're naturally driven by the avoidance of pain, but it was the pursuit of pleasure that makes this case unique and hopefully an example of you and how to start your health journey. So her goal was to have a better quality of life, not just feel as I'm going through the motions. I want to have energy and focus so I can be the best version of myself, to serve my family and loved ones, and be all that I was created to be. She created a goal that was more aligned with a purpose statement of gaining something you want but don't have. Formulating a purpose around this will be more lasting and get you through the tough time as well as sustain the improvements that are achieved. So, if you're going to formulate a goal, formulate a purpose, aim for something you want but you don't have versus aiming for something you have but you don't want. There'll be two different outcomes with those kind of goals. With that said, there's a few key things in her health history in addition to her symptoms that determine the testing I wanted to perform. One is that she had multiple rounds of antibiotics as a child, teen, and even into her adulthood. Second, she had a past history of PCOS and endometriosis in which she actually healed up through diet prior to coming to the office. So she's not new to this health game. She's done some awesome changes already on her own, and so we're having some kind of hang-ups and lingering things that aren't always clear as to what's causing them. And then the third thing is she's been plagued with digestive issues since 2 years old. So that should be some clues right there for you guys. Now, part of the success isn't just to lay out where we want to go, but look at clues from where she's been. And so with each patient, each client, what I want to do is look through a thorough health history, and ours is about 25 pages worth of information now, because all your life experiences will give you and give me indications of how your body's had to adapt. The other clues I like to look at is a lab review of anything you've had in the past, especially the past 18 months. But there's a different way to look at this. When I get labs back, say from Quest or LabCorp or most any blood services, there's a normal reference range on those forms. And this is based on a statistical analysis that lumps 95% of you guys as healthy. I think this is absolutely absurd, since 80% of our healthcare dollars are spent in chronic illness for 50% of our population. So there's no way that 95% of you can be healthy in that normal range. So many will have normal values, but will still struggle and just feel like complete garbage. So what I do is I tighten those ranges up. It will flag more things, but this is not to scare you, but to tease out more interconnectedness between the systems in the body. You can't influence one system without affecting them all. So yes, you may have a thyroid problem, but you probably have XYZ over here as well that may have caused that, or it's a tertiary thing. Anyway, it's all connected. You can't influence and affect one system without affecting them all. So with this one in particular, what ended up being discovered from past labs were suboptimal low values of total protein, globulin, alkaline phosphatase, total cholesterol, white blood cells, and MCHC. What was suboptimal high were basically the rest of the red blood cell markers and creatinine. And something to consider that I see a lot is that if the red blood cells aren't supported, then nervous system tissue and function isn't supported, detoxification isn't supported, glutathione support probably isn't well either, and regulation of hormones and neurotransmitters aren't supported. These functions use a lot of the same nutrients to carry out their actions. So again, you can't affect one system without affecting them all. Now, how do they get affected? Well, it could be due just to a lack of being able to break down the foods and nutrients. It could be a lack of consumption of them, but having her kind of lay out her diet, we knew that wasn't the case. So when people's diets are kind of par and they're eating enough, this kind of inability to break down food and nutrients is usually seen with low total protein, low cholesterol, and also low alkaline phosphatase, which is a zinc-dependent enzyme. It could be poor absorption issues or conversion of nutrients in the gut, often supported by the microbiome or what we call dysbiosis. In either scenario, if there are mental emotional issues, there's almost certainly gut issues. And if there are gut issues, there's almost certainly mental emotional issues. So when we look at her symptoms, there's both. There's digestive issues, there's mental capacity as well. So if you're struggling with mental and emotional stuff, you may think brain, but I want you to think gut. If you're dealing with digestive, bloating, constipation issues, you're going to affect the brain in some way or the other, so that you can't separate the two. And for people that kind of question this concept that what you eat possibly couldn't affect the brain, just invite them out to have a couple beers. You're drinking alcohol, they act stupid. So right there, you just prove your point, and they're smarter for it. Now, so with all that information, next step was to order some more specific testing. And one of the tests I love to order, because it gives me a host of information, is called organic acids, and this is from Genova Diagnostics. And you can look it up. But basically what it is, it's like an emissions test for your cells. It looks at vitamin mineral status, amino acids, oxidative damage, your capabilities to detox, B vitamin utilization. So for those familiar with MTHFR and those things, this gives you more the quantification of the ability to use it, opposed to just I have MTHFR or some other SNP. Looks at neurotransmitter regulation, mitochondrial efficiency, methylation, as well as bacterial and yeast overgrowth. I think probably the best thing about this test is it's easy to do. It's a urine test. You do it in the comfort of your own home with your first morning's urine. It's super easy and provides volumes of valuable information. So some of the initial results was there's a bacterial, kind of looking at those bacterial markers. And when we look at the gut markers, there are a number of them that indicate SIBO, or what we call small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So you can see all those little diamond boxes in the red zones. Why is this a problem? Well, SIBO will create a constant energy drag on your system, pushing you into constant protective mode. So think if you're always running from a bear, this will disrupt digestive processes, absorption processes. You'll be basically flooring your gas pedal and running out of gas a whole lot sooner. With anxiety, moodiness, inability to focus, ADHD, again, there's going to be altered neurotransmitter patterns. So at the top here, in this case, we have low vanillomandylate, which is the breakdown of epinephrine and norepinephrine, and we have low 5-hydroxy-indole acetate, which is basically the end product of serotonin. But it does, excuse me, but it doesn't necessarily mean that both are low. These end products are part of an enzyme pathway. So all life is ingredients plus a recipe, and you have your product. So the ingredients are going to be your substrates. This is what you put into your body: vitamins, minerals, amino acids, essential fats, all those things. The recipe is essentially what's coded for in your DNA, and our DNA codes for different enzymes. And I've already mentioned the enzyme MTHFR, which codes for how we process folic acid. And then there's going to be a product. And so what you see on the left-hand column of here, all these names, these are the end game product. And if we look previous, there'll be an enzyme and there'll be other ingredients. And so an ingredient for 5-hydroxyindoleacetate would be serotonin. Serotonin plus an enzyme will break down into this. The point is that in this case, it's not that there isn't enough epinephrine and norepinephrine from that number 22 one. It's that this person really isn't breaking down those hormones well. So in essence, there's a block at the enzyme, therefore keeping those fight or flight hormones in the system longer than is needed. It's if you're always running from a bear, it's going to basically lessen your ability to concentrate, as well as how quickly you're going to burn through energy. So if you're running from a bear, you don't remember the Gettysburg Address. If you're running from a bear, or if you're sprinting, you're going to run out of energy a whole lot quicker. Now when it comes to number 24, so that breakdown of serotonin, there's another clue with the trending low value of number 27, picolinate. Both use the same building block of tryptophan. So I interpret this as not enough building blocks, where the previous neurotransmitter, number 22, there wasn't enough support at the enzyme level. So in other words, fight or flight hormones aren't being detoxed well enough on that aspect. Now, because we're talking about detoxification, we got to make sure those pathways are all good to go. And so this person has a couple hits. One of them is number 30, that 2-methylhyperate, which is exposure to xylene. There's also high levels or near high levels of number 32, glucarate, which comes from above normal exposure to things like pesticides and herbicides and fungicides and petrochemicals and alcohol and pharmaceuticals, and even toxins produced in the GI tract, which we've already seen, looking at the bacterial markers from the previous slide. And one of the most important molecules in your ability to be able to detoxify is glutathione. And so we have some indications here, number 34, pyroglutamate. So basically she's not making enough glutathione to support all these systems to repair, recover, detoxify, you name it. So the plan of action was going to be lifestyle based. Big surprise. The success comes in when the person realizes they're the solution and that consistency wins. If you're expecting your doctor to solve your problem, that's usually when you come up disappointed. So when you're ready to make changes, when someone's ready to put the effort in, when someone sees themselves as a solution, because the body's this amazing ability to organize and coordinate life and heal and repair, you just got to do the right things for it and give it time. That's where success happens. But if you're always expecting someone else to do the work for you, you're going to be pretty disappointed. So we started on a fat-focused diet and combined that with some intermittent fasting. As for exercise, we actually scaled down. And as much as I personally love to exercise and the benefits neurologically are global within the body, a lot of times we have to scale back, especially with kind of neurotransmitter regulation, autoimmunity, those types of things. So for her, we stuck to more of a high intensity but short durations. Some workouts are only about 4 minutes long. But where I see the problem, a lot of people, is the longer we exercise at intense levels, the more our nervous system shifts away from repair and recovery into protection. So high intensity exercise should be paired with short duration. Like these high intensity 45-minute to 60-minute exercise classes, I'm not a fan of, unless you're taking quite a bit of time on afterwards. But usually I see it set more people up for failure than success. In her case, and I would argue a lot of people with neurotransmitter regulation, if like the system's already in go mode, then long bouts of exercise are going to cause more injury, more insult to injury. And then as for supplements, we supported 3 prime areas. One's the gut, others neurotransmitter regulation, and the other's detoxification. But we didn't do a detox. I didn't feel like what we're seeing, the detox pathways weren't supported. So by doing a detox, it again may do more harm than help. Now, fast forward 7 months. It's not all peaches and cream, but we did some retesting, some awesome changes with the bacterial markers, some awesome changes in the neurotransmitter areas, as well as detoxification markers. We're not always all the way there yet, but she sent me this note. I still have days when I feel like garbage, but I've seen overall major improvement. It's usually due to overwhelm due to massive amounts of stuff on my plate and lack of sleep to be the external factors. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your help. The issues I came to you with are things I've struggled with my entire life, and for the first time ever, I feel like I'm getting more long-term results. I love that we're getting to the bottom of things and I'm not having to rely on pharmaceuticals or other means just to feel like I'm surviving. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You and this work we have been doing have truly been a blessing in my life. And I would say that we is the key word, because she definitely put in her work. She did what she's supposed to and did it. Like, in reality, is that healing takes time, especially when issues have been going on for 32 years. Remember, she had digestive issues since she was 2 years old. Many people will be able to track back to the start of their health issues from an event or trauma, but it's faulty to think just because that circumstance was short-lived that the problem is gone. Most health issues, there may be a trauma or an event, but then it leaves this persistent pattern of dysfunction. It's like a hurricane. The storm comes and goes, but it takes years and decades to rebuild everything. So if you want to get your results quickly, it's not always the case. Persistency and consistency are what's going to build the wins. So I just want to say thank you for watching and listening. I'm Dr. Kurt Perkins, and this is a case study about anxiety, focus, moodiness, ADHD, constipation, bloating, and fatigue.